India manages a land boundary that stretches 14,000 kilometers, sharing borders with 7 different nations. Of that total, about 6,000 kilometers represent the high-traffic stretches shared specifically with Pakistan and Bangladesh. These specific regions face a constant flow of 2 distinct challenges: the threat of organized terrorist infiltration and the long-term economic impact of undocumented immigration. Relying on physical guards and wire fences creates a massive logistical gap. The Border Security Force has to monitor thousands of miles of difficult terrain, where the cover of night often makes manual patrols ineffective. If an infiltrator bypasses a wire fence and secures fraudulent documents, they effectively bypass the benefits and protections reserved for legal citizens. In response to these vulnerabilities, India's Home Minister announced a plan to move the country's border security into a more technical phase, aiming to make these perimeters effectively impenetrable through new methods. Managing 6,000 kilometers of this geography is a task that is outgrowing the limitations of traditional walls, leading the government toward a digital strategy. The Smart Border Project marks a shift toward an active digital ecosystem that replaces static physical barriers with real-time data. This starts with thermal imaging cameras. These units remove the advantage of darkness, detecting human heat signatures invisible to the naked eye. Since the majority of illegal crossings are attempted at night, these cameras allow border guards to maintain visual contact regardless of the lighting conditions. A second layer of defense is buried underground. Ground sensors detect vibration waves from footsteps or tires, feeding data into a tactical grid. This identifies approaching targets to deploy the correct force. When these tools are networked together, they create a system capable of tracking human movement with a level of precision that manual patrols alone cannot achieve. High-altitude surveillance adds a third layer. Drones and UAVs provide a continuous aerial view, tracking movement from well above the clouds. This data is centralized in a command center. Here, AI video analytics acts as the processing hub, sorting information from aerial, ground, and thermal sensors. This approach has become a multi-billion-dollar industry, with specialized firms like Anduril and Palantir providing the software necessary to manage such massive amounts of data. Israel was an early adopter of this tech, specifically using subterranean sensors to detect the vibrations of tunnels being dug beneath their border zones. The United States uses a similar combination, deploying a virtual wall of camera towers and aerostats alongside the physical metal barriers of the US-Mexico border. China has also moved aggressively in this direction, installing mass surveillance networks and facial recognition systems along its borders, particularly near Tibet. By launching this project, India is adopting a technological standard that is becoming a requirement for modern border management. The reliance on traditional wire fencing is giving way to these integrated networks of surveillance. However, building this digital network is high. Deploying AI, drone fleets, and sensors requires billions of dollars. Funding this scale represents a long-term commitment of national resources, raising questions about its impact on the broader budget. Proponents argue that this upfront expense prevents the larger hidden costs associated with security threats and the economic strain of an unchecked, undocumented population. Ultimately, India has to decide, is a multi-billion-dollar digital wall a necessary investment for national security, or is the cost of building it a burden the country isn't ready to carry? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
If you value clarity over chaos, explore more on Clear Lens X.